Where do I even begin? Well, I guess I should explain myself first. Name's Jake, for what that's worth. I posted a video some time back. In it, I talk about my friendships and how they all ended. For the sake of making this video correctly, though, I'll tell it again. Starting back in elementary school, most of the precious few friendships I actually managed to form ended in the other person moving away, sometimes to the other side of the country. One in particular has stuck with me for whatever reason. I remember riding my Razor scooter over to his house. What I don't remember is what we were planning to do, but I do for some reason have a distinct memory of both of us being really into that Raze Flash game. You hold on to the strangest things. All I can remember about this dude is that game, and the fact that he taught me my first swear word. Anyway, when I got to his house, he answered the door and told me that his family was going to be moving away the next day, so he couldn't hang out. Neither of us had our own phones, and he wouldn't tell me where he was going. Maybe he didn't know. Maybe his parents didn't like me very much. Whatever the reason, I never saw him again. Last words I ever said to the dude were, "Alright, bye, I guess." Pretty soon after that, elementary school ended. Miraculously, precisely one of my friends actually went with me to the same middle school. For 3 whole years, life was okay. Wasn't perfect. My one friend wasn't actually in any of my classes, so I usually sat with a group of guys who relentlessly made life uncomfortable. Still, there were almost certainly worse positions to be in. And then high school happened. My one friend, the one I had stuck with for longer than any other, he was gone too, off to a different side of the city. Now, he didn't actually move, so we could still visit each other on the weekends, but something had changed. Even now, I couldn't explain what it was. We weren't the same people we were before. Every time we hung out, one of us seemed to get angry or lose interest in what we were doing. Eventually, we stopped talking. Not by any explicit agreement, but it ended up being for the best. So I was back to square one. Nothing left. I didn't stay there, but I always found myself wondering if the friends I did make in high school were actually my friends. Because to me, it sometimes seemed like the group members couldn't stand each other. We never hung out outside of school. As some small upside with nothing to distract me, my grades were excellent. Those 4 years passed with nothing else to show for it, though. And then I was in college. As expected, none of my friends went to the same school, and this time it was me moving away. And that was that. Although we could have easily maintained our friendship over the internet, the sense of dissonance I felt when I was with them was enough to discourage me. And then came college. I wasn't sure what to expect, but I got lucky that time. First day in the dorms, my roommates and I clicked. It was immediate. Even better, though, they introduced me to their friends as well, and so my circle only grew. It was everything I've ever wanted. More friends than at any one point. And we matched better on top of that. There was just one problem.
The death toll rising here in the U.S. to at least 36, more than 1,200 cases now reported in 42 states and Washington, D.C.
Yeah. I began college in fall 2019. In March, they sent us all home. True to form, my friends moved to the other side of the state, back in with their own families. Now, that wasn't initially a problem. The internet existed, and although we couldn't meet in person, we stayed strong. The next fall, we all moved back, even though the majority of classes were still online exclusively. There was no vaccine yet, you understand. We didn't live in the same dorm this time, though. On the bright side, the group had picked up a couple new members. Things took a turn for the worse again, though, when those new members started some trouble. I wasn't present for it myself, but from what I remember, they were being unreasonably controlling over one of the original group members. So we stopped talking to them. They never did anything to me personally, but if the others were right about them, then anyway, the fall semester wrapped up pretty quick. I registered for classes in the spring, but only when I finished did I realize they were all online. I don't know if there was a surge in the virus or what, but the university had cut back severely on the in-person experience again. With no in-person classes, I had no real choice but to move back out of the dorms. My friends stayed behind, leaving their own dorms for a nearby house they had rented. Without telling me. For whatever reason, the real estate company that owned this property rented houses out on a per-room basis, and there happened to be an empty room in this house. My friends made this quite clear to me, and also expressed that the landlord was putting pressure on them to find someone who might fill it. I wanted to help them. I wanted to get the landlord off their back. I wanted to move in with them as soon as I could. But it was the middle of the lease period, and I wouldn't be able to go there immediately. Still, I signed a lease beginning in the next fall. I excitedly messaged my friends to tell them about it, only to be greeted by a concerning silence. A sickening thought occurred to me. What if they weren't going to be there? Did they have other plans? As it turns out, they did. They did not renew their lease, unable to make the same commitment I had. From what I could tell, there were fractures starting to appear in the group itself. They were never going to be able to live with me, but they used me all the same. And now, I was stuck with the lease. For a mercy, the landlord understood and agreed to let me out. I wouldn't have to spend my junior year living in a shitty house with 4 strangers. We barely talked at all that summer. I found an apartment for that fall, and my roommate made it very clear on the first day that he was not the type of person I would ever want to hang out with. Let's just leave it at that. I messaged the old group the first weekend I moved in, asking if they wanted to hang out. They made some vague, non-committal statements, then almost nothing. The last thing we ever did together was play a half-assed game of Civ 5. One of the players became frustrated and left halfway through the match. The rest of us said something along the lines of, "We'll finish this later." Later never came. I've messaged them a couple times since, but to no avail. My most recent interaction with any of them is when one of the guys randomly, after 8 months of no contact, sent me a Steam invite to play Apex Legends. At that point, I was pretty desperate. I messaged him back, asking if the spot was still open. He responded, "Sorry, just finished. Another time." I happily agreed, glad that someone was talking to me again. In that moment, it didn't seem quite so important what they had done to me. I just wanted something. Anything at all. And then, the dude unfriended me on Steam. I don't know if he meant to send the invite to someone else or what. Here I am, back to 0. I haven't made any new friends for over a year now. Maybe I don't know how anymore. Now, to answer the question in the video title, what is it like? Well, on the surface, it doesn't actually seem that different. You could watch me in my day-to-day and not think anything was wrong. Quite the opposite. Isolation finds its way into every facet of life. Meals. Don't make too much. You're only feeding one. Work. Carpooling is out of the question. Free time. I hope you didn't think you were going anywhere. Restaurants, movies, vacations. What's the point if there's no one to talk to? It traps you in more ways than one. A chain reaction, almost. If I have no friends, they can't introduce me to anyone new. I just don't understand. How do people make friends in the first place? I can't do it in class. We walk in, listen to the lecture, and walk out. It's in person, but there's nothing personal about it. I can't just stop people on the street. They have places to be. I can't just message strangers in the online games I play and ask to join their group. It wouldn't be the same. The friendships I've had before have been natural extensions of sharing interests and conversations with people I've known for a long time. I need to trust, and now I have almost none. How do you do it? How do you do it? How do you do it? How do you do it?